Well, one of the first things that I think we can do is as we are going through the grocery store, let's be mindful of what we're doing. And I step back a little bit. I'm not somebody that wants to go extreme to one side of the world on, 100% carnivore, 100% keto, 100% vegetarian. That's lifestyle choices that you can make. I understand that. But I'm in the middle of the road. I think all things that are from a natural source and rot are meant for ingestion. Now, do I think that some people have allergies or sensitivities? Absolutely, 100%. So that's your place where you make those choices and decisions. But the first thing to remember is that, especially as a lady in the household, we're the consumers. We go to the store most of the time. I know there's some men that do, but we are the ones that bring things home. So the first step, I think, would be just be mindful of what you have in your house and what you're putting in your cart. So fresh foods, things that rot, things that go bad are probably a priority. And seasonal is also the other thing, because I get the pushback from people saying, well, fresh food is expensive. Yes, but so is somebody dying, so is disease. So we invest in our health now, or we're going to pay back and greater dollar amounts later. So let's start with some really simple things. Um, the easiest thing in the world would be to make a list of what you're going to get and stick to that list. And then avoid all the aisles that have everything in them that are processed. So if it comes in a box, don't get it. Don't get it. And I know one of the things that our family did, and this is something that helped me tremendously, is that thing called a cereal box. I don't buy them.
Gone.
They're not in my pantry. And I know people say, well, it's fast, and it is. But there is a thing called an egg, and there are things called sausage and bacon and things like that that are healthier. Or you could substitute, if you want to go down that road of grains, there are things like oatmeal. So oatmeal's super cheap. There's no, unless you buy, of course, the flavored kinds, but oatmeal is super cheap. You don't have to buy something that has all those sugars and additives in it. So stay away from anything that is extra in that container.
And stay away from the quick oats.
Right.
Get steel oats because you have to cook them longer. So that means you'll eat less because it takes longer to prepare them. Just saying.
Right. The other thing we can do is we always talk about drinks. Well, stay away from things that are loaded with sugar. Okay. The first thing would be juices. Juices are just full of fructose and flavors that, we don't really need them in our society. I'm not saying an occasional person might, I know my husband does races and he burns a lot of energy, and sometimes that might be appropriate. But most times, if we avoid things that are just loaded in sugar, then of course we save on the calorie side. So small things can make big changes. So if, like, you decided, okay, now we're going to eliminate one thing at a time in our house, which might be the easiest approach versus doing everything all at once. One thing at a time. Well, eliminate one thing that you know that is a problem for you. For me, I love cookies. I could eat the whole container. I don't care if it was baked. I don't care if it came from a box. I love them. So I don't bring them home. So there's just things like that. So identify things that are problems is where we're going with this.
Get rid of snacks. So even the typical nuts, the typical bars, granola bars, whatever, these healthy snacks that we're talking about, just get rid of them. Don't have them in your house. And then all of a sudden you won't eat them. If you do want snacks, why not blackberries? Why not blueberries? I dare you to overeat an apple or apples. I dare you to eat more than one apple. Usually one is enough. But how many peanuts can you eat? How much trail mix can you eat? Handfuls and handfuls. And it's like 170 calories per handful. Peanuts are loaded in calories, or nuts are loaded in calories, and they're easy to overeat. So, eat something. If you're going to have a snack, like Janet was saying, if it doesn't rot, don't eat it. So don't have it in your house. And that way you'll have a less propensity to save stuff up because it'll rot, and then you'll eat less also.
Well, there is kind of a commitment that when we buy fresh food that we need to perhaps make a few more trips to the store, but there are things and tips that we can do to help with that too. So for example, if it's not season for fruit like blueberries, buy them frozen. And sometimes that might be
Yeah.
better too, because if you travel or your house is really busy, frozen things are easy to also, and they're good. Frozen fruit can be very delicious. It also maintains a lot of nutrients. So if you're worried about that, I believe in frozen vegetables and fruit. But I do caution again, like when you start getting into things like potatoes and sweet potatoes, they do add things to them. So, keep that in mind. But these are just tips. And I think the thing is that as we slowly work healthier things into your diet, it gets easier and easier.